Good morning, it's David Schlotthauer with a tropical update on Violent Typhoon Mawar for Wednesday morning afternoon, May 24th. As always, my thoughts in this video are mine alone, and making decisions regarding Mawar, consult the Joint Typhoon Warning Center and your local officials for the best information for where you are. Once again, we're going to be doing a detailed update on Typhoon Mawar as it remains a very strong Category 4 typhoon with winds 140 miles an hour, according to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center near Guam. We can see with what the Hamari 9 Channel 13 IR satellite imagery illustrates here, this remains nevertheless a very devastating, powerful typhoon by all standards. Even so, it has weakened a little bit from the 155 to near 160 miles an hour from early this morning in Pacific Daylight Time. That would be overnight in the Guam area. It still nevertheless remains a very powerful typhoon, with cloud top still reaching upwards of 75 to 80 degrees below zero in Celsius, which indicates we're still seeing some very cold cloud tops, lightning strikes, a very intense southern and eastern eye wall that remains in play here. This is confirmed on the latest satellite or the radar Doppler out of Mark Missenbaum on Guam. We can see how the eye has evolved over the last 12 or so hours. For reference, to make sure that you guys can see this very well, this is actually the main island of Guam here. Here is Capitol Hill, that is, to the northeast. And this is where we have Mawar right now, a very, very powerful typhoon by all means, with very cold cloud tops, heavy rainfall, lightning strikes, squally conditions on the southern side of that. And we can see clearly where it currently is right now. We could also take note here from the Doppler radar that we do have a secondary eye wall that is nearly almost complete. We're still waiting for some of this to erode. This is the inner eye wall, by the way, in the inner portion of Mawar. Once that erodes, we're going to start seeing this outer eye wall take hold. And once this eye wall replacement cycle completes itself, I think we're going to see re-intensification with Mawar over the next 24 to 96 hours or so. So within the next 4 days, we're going to really have to watch Mawar very closely. Another speed estimate we can get here is on the advanced Dover technique. This is basically, in other words, of estimating the speed based on satellite imagery. How strong are the winds? How low is the air pressure? So the advanced Dover technique uses an intensity algorithm to estimate how strong the typhoon actually is. And right now, based on this newest update that I'm making right now, we're at about 110 knots. To be specific, 109.8 knots, with pressures that are not as low at 952.3 millibars. So I would not be surprised if this is already below 140 miles an hour, but more so likely it's probably going to remain at about 130 at the very least, which would still be a very strong catastrophic Category 4 typhoon on the Joint Typhoon Warning Center wind scale, because they use it differently than ours. Cloud tops, again, are about negative 71.9 Celsius, which is very cold by all means. So now the question is, once this eye wall replacement cycle completes itself, is Mawar going to intensify as it nears Guam? The answer is yes. I think we're going to see this to re-intensify. Now, the only time it won't be able to do so is if that eye wall replacement cycle continues to really take its time. Again, we want this this inner eye wall to erode and the outer eye wall to choke off the inner eye, so we get that reconnection where a lot of the centrifugal force, a lot of the wind energy can recontract inward again. Until that happens, this is going to probably be on the weakening trend slightly. But once that ERC completes, then I think we're going to have a nudge up with our winds again. But in the meantime, this is a look at the H-Wharf model. This is again, looking at Guam right here. So I hope you all can see that perfectly well on the video here or on the screen. Here is Capitol Hill up here, getting hit with some very, very heavy rain bands, squally conditions, lightning strikes, water spouts. Very, very serious situation, okay? And when we kind of look at Doppler here, you can see some of those rain bands kind of sweeping across some of these islands. And again, that's kind of a testimony of what's to come, unfortunately, for tonight. A lot of the prayers, my prayers and everyone else's from the United States, goes out to these people that are being impacted by Mawar tonight, this afternoon into the evening hours. So, right now, the forecast model has this center right here, 948 millibars, so it might intensify a little bit more, or it's weakening now, but might re-strengthen a little bit before or right when it hits the main island of Guam here. And this would be right around about 2 to 5 in the afternoon for time in Guam. So this would be for Wednesday. All right, not Tuesday, because it's Tuesday here back west in California, but it would be Wednesday there. But you get, nevertheless, you can kind of get an idea that this will impact your area right around the evening commute on your Wednesday if you're on Guam. 948 millibars. Once this passes Guam, again, very heavy rainfall, strong winds, and squally conditions will continue all the way through probably early Thursday morning, probably late morning as well, as this system passes its way through. And you can see here some rain bands being indicated here all the way through late morning on your Thursday. Okay, with a pressure of 941 millibars. So that system is going to be intensifying. Here's Guam. Here is Capitol Hill right here for your May 24th time frame. And then this is kind of in the open waters, but some of the models like the H-Wharf, 922 millibars, which may impact Taiwan. We'll see how close this gets to that area, including for the northern Philippines islands. That's going to be our next area to watch. Now, we don't have Doppler radar. We don't have as much resources over there, but I'll do what I can to keep you all updated on this, because this is a very devastating system. So 922 millibars on that with winds. Now, really quickly, hurricane or typhoon force winds, typhoon warnings are issued for that area with, again, 120, 130 mile an hour winds on the main island of Guam. There will be a lot of devastation. I know a lot of buildings are vulnerable to a lot of the damage. Some of the buildings are stronger, but just keep in mind, please take this seriously. Even so, your building will likely withstand winds like this because you're notorious for getting typhoons this strong. But don't let your guard down. Not every typhoon is the same, and every typhoon needs to be taken seriously. Once that passes Guam, it is going to re-intensify. You can see the winds here, anywhere between about 120 to 140 miles an hour, all the way through the next 3 days. And as you can see, this is currently rendering. So you're getting the very latest information here on my YouTube channel. So now, we talked about the radar. We talked about how strong the winds are going to be for the main island of Guam over the next 6 to 12 hours. What about the steering? Because it's not just about Guam here. It's all about, too, Taiwan, some of the Japanese islands, as well as the northern Philippines islands. You guys are in the crosshairs here, just depending on how close it gets. We have to track this sucker down a lot. I said sucker. Okay, I did not say the F word, so don't quote me on that. But we can see that the 500 millibar steering is, as I mentioned in this morning's video and yesterday's or last night's video, is that we have this ridge that is anchored here. You can see the wind barbs here, taking note of that ridge that is in place. We have a little bit of a trough here to the northwest of the system. This is in the next 12 hours. So this is probably what's allowing the system, or Mawar, Typhoon Mawar, to not turn yet to the west. But once this trough moves and this ridge is able to build in, and this high over Taiwan and the northern Philippines is able to build in, I think we're going to start seeing the overall steering flow change here. As long as this ridge up here to the north is here, this system is not likely to turn north right away out in the middle here of the Philippine Sea. Instead, it's going to be probably headed towards, again, the northern Philippines islands, as well as Taiwan and some of the Japanese islands over here. Definitely need to be aware of that, okay? Because this, this is the 12Z run, by the way, and we can see clearly what the latest forecast calls for. Now, 5 days out in time, again, this is likely to be nudged around a little bit based on where this high actually builds and where this other high is. There's going to be a weakness here, and this is going to be a big problem because when you got two highs on either side like this, basically there's not much steering with this because you're getting the background flow out of the northerly direction out of this high, and you're getting a southerly flow out of this. So basically you get canceling out flows here, and when we kind of do a sounding profile here, we can see, unfortunately, was not able to bring up the sounding, taking forever to load here. Nevertheless, you get the idea. This is going to encounter some weaker steering currents, and this could slow down quite a bit, very close to Taiwan, as well as near the Japanese islands, probably by Monday and Tuesday early next week. So the upper level steering flow is as such. This is the 200 millibar flow. What we're going to look for is any shear that may encroach onto the system. We're not seeing a whole lot of shear right now. We did see a little bit of a lopsidedness to the Typhoon earlier. That's kind of going away a little bit, and we're starting to see more asymmetry for the system. The 200 millibar flow is like this. The system is going to be moving into a flow that is very volatile or very favorable for this typhoon to further strengthen. As we can see here, here's the 200 millibar winds here. Here's your 200 millibar ridge pattern in the upper level pattern, and then there's your typhoon there as such on this model run. But right now, this is a look at the latest from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. This is from zoomearth.com. There will be a link in the description below this video. You can see winds right now 140, as I mentioned, so it's no longer a super typhoon, but it is a violent typhoon by all means. It is going to be impacting Guam by early to mid-afternoon, so make sure you have battened down the hatches because there's going to be some strong winds. And then it moves into the Philippine Sea here and will re-intensify, possibly 150, 160 miles an hour. So back up to a super typhoon again once it enters this area. And there's a lot of question marks in regards of Taiwan and the northern Philippines, as well as the Japanese islands, because again, if this is able to be very strong as such, maybe it will just move a little bit more further west, and it might get over here before making this turn off towards the north, and might get very close to Taiwan. And there are some scenarios this actually just might hit Taiwan altogether. We just don't know. It just all depends on that ridge to the north and this other ridge that tries to develop afterwards that will help to kind of fetal ground the steering flow around the system. Well, anyways, that is going to do it with today's update on super or violent typhoon Mawar near Guam for your Wednesday morning afternoon time frame for May 24th, 2023. If this video helped you out a lot, please consider subscribing, sharing, and liking, and I'll be back with you with another update on this possibly late tonight or tomorrow.